A very long time ago, when the earth was still young and the forest whispered secrets to those who listened, there lived a deity whose name stirred both fear and fascination. Ishu. Ishu was not like other Orishas. He did not roar like Shango or speak gently like Obatala. Ishu was unpredictable. Sometimes he laughed with you in the morning and brought chaos to your door by nightfall. But no one could ignore him. You see, Ishu was the one who stood at the crossroads between the world of men and the world of the gods. He wore a tall, pointed hat, and his body shimmered with red and black, the colors of conflict and balance. Around his waist clinged cowrie shells, and in his hand he held a twisted staff that never left his side. His eyes sharp, watching, always calculating. Ishu was the messenger of the gods, the keeper of oaths, and the enforcer of consequences. One day, in the powerful kingdom of Ayegbade, a place surrounded by mountains and feared across all lands, the king sat worried in his palace. Oba Akintade, the great warrior king, had ruled for 30 years. He had fought in battles, built great walls, and filled his kingdom with wealth. But he had no heir, and he was growing old. His people were beginning to whisper. The king summoned his Babalawo, a wise and ancient diviner named Ifawale. "Why has the gods' favor left me?" the king asked. "I have given them goats, cows, even my finest yam harvests. Still, no child comes." Ifawale entered his sacred chamber and cast his okbele. The cowries danced and clattered, and when they stopped, Ifawale gasped. "It is Ishu," he said. "He stands at the path to your destiny. He has blocked it." "Then what must I do?" cried the king. "You must go to the crossroads at midnight," said Ifawale. "Bring palm oil, kola nut, and a black rooster. You must go alone. Speak to no one. When you get to the crossroads, pour the oil on the earth and call his name. Ishu Elegbara, keeper of ways. And then you must wait." That night, the king did as he was told. At the edge of the forest where the three paths met under the crescent moon, he placed the offerings. He called the name, Ishu Elegbara, keeper of ways. "Open my path." Then the wind blew, the trees rustled, and from the darkness, a voice slithered like smoke. "So the mighty king begs at the crossroads," said Ishu, stepping into the moonlight. His hat cast a long shadow, and his eyes glittered with mischief. The king bowed. "Great Ishu, I offer what you desire. Open my path, give me an heir, and I shall build a shrine for you in every market square." Ishu chuckled, circling him like a panther. "Ah, so now I am needed. When your enemies surrounded you, did you call me first? When you crowned yourself king, did you pour oil on my shrine? When your wife cried for a child, did you think of me?" The king bowed deeper. "Forgive me." Ishu's face darkened. "Words are cheap, but I am fair. I do not withhold without reason. Your path is blocked because of a lie told in your palace, a lie that was never punished. That lie was like a stone thrown into a river. The ripples are still moving." The king blinked in confusion, What lie? Ishu laughed. I do not give answers freely. If you want your heir, you must play my game. What game? Asked the king, his voice tight. Ishu raised his staff and struck the ground. Suddenly, the wind howled. The path behind the king vanished, swallowed by darkness. The crossroads stretched into a great endless road lined with faces, strange floating faces that watched without blinking. Ishu whispered, in 7 days, 3 visitors will come to your palace. One tells the truth, one tells a lie, and one says nothing at all. You must uncover the truth of the past, or your bloodline will end with you. The king tried to speak, but the wind silenced him. Ishu grinned, leaned forward, and said, choose wrongly, and your kingdom will belong to another. Then, just like that, Ishu vanished, and the king stood alone. At dawn, the sun rose like nothing happened, but the king's heart was heavy. He told no one of the meeting, not even the queen. He waited, watched, and wondered, who would these visitors be? What was the lie? Who had betrayed him? And most importantly, was Ishu playing a trick or revealing a buried truth? The drums of Ayegbade sounded loudly that morning, but Oba Akintade barely heard them. He sat on his throne, staring at the carved leopard heads on his royal staff. The weight of Ishu's warning pressed on his chest like a stone. 7 days, Ishu said. 7 days to discover the truth that had blocked his destiny. By the 2nd day, strange things began to happen in the kingdom. First, the palace well dried up, even though the season was not dry. Then a white dove flew in circles over the king's courtyard, cooing endlessly, a sign that the Orishas were watching. The Babalawos murmured amongst themselves, but the king said nothing. He was waiting. On the 3rd day, the first visitor arrived. He was a tall man dressed in white robes, his face covered with a veil of silk. He walked with the calm grace and bowed deeply when he reached the throne. I am Tajuddin, a wandering scholar, he said. I bring news from the hills of Owu. I have read the stars, and they speak of a buried truth. The king's heart beat faster. He leaned forward. Speak, scholar. What truth? Tajuddin pulled out a scroll and read aloud. Many years ago, a prince was accused of betrayal and cast out of Ayegbade. But the betrayal was not his. It was another who framed him to steal power. The court gasped. The queen's eyes darted to the old war chief sitting by the left pillar. Tajuddin continued, the one who lied still walks among you. The king clenched his jaw. How do I know you are not the liar? The man bowed again. You do not, but you must listen to all 3. And without another word, Tajuddin disappeared into the palace shadows. On the 5th day, the 2nd visitor arrived. This one came wearing black. A hood covered his face. He carried a wooden staff shaped like a snake. He said nothing, not even when the guards asked his name, not when the queen herself approached and demanded his purpose. He only stared at the king. Then slowly, he walked to the center of the palace floor, knelt and placed a small calabash in front of him. Inside, a stone soaked in dried blood. The courtyard trembled. The old Ifawale whispered, "That is an oath stone, used when swearing loyalty to the throne." The silent visitor pointed at the stone, then pointed at the king, and walked out. The king's breath caught in his throat. Someone had taken a sacred oath and broken it. On the 7th day, just before the cock crowed, the final visitor came. A woman. She was dressed in simple palm-woven clothes, but her eyes were sharp like an ox. She entered the palace barefoot and stood tall before the king. "I am Moronkeji, daughter of the woods, keeper of memory. I do not tell lies. I do not tell truths. I only remember." The king blinked. "You remember what?" She smiled. "The night your younger brother was accused." Oba Akintade's eyes widened. His voice dropped. "Adetunji?" "Yes, the one who now wanders in exile. The one who once knelt at your feet and called you brother." The courtyard gasped again. Some had never heard the name spoken in years. The king's voice trembled. "He tried to take my throne." "Did he?" Moronkeji asked, raising one eyebrow. "Or did someone whisper in your ear and plant poison in your mind? A jealous servant? A hungry chief?" She stepped closer. "The gods are watching. Oba, Ishu has opened the road. You must walk it." And with that, she was gone. The room fell into silence. All eyes turned to the king, but Oba Akintade could not speak. The truth felt like a snake coiled in his belly. He rose and went into the sacred chamber alone. There, before the shrine of his ancestors, he fell to his knees. "Oh, Ishu," he whispered, "you gave me 3 voices. But which one is the truth? The scholar? The silent one? The memory keeper?" Suddenly, the fire in the shrine flickered blue. A deep voice echoed from the shadows. "Truth is not given. It is earned." Ishu stepped forward, his staff tapping the stone floor. "3 paths lie before you, Akintade. Choose wrongly, and you will raise a son who will destroy your kingdom. Choose rightly, and you will birth a ruler greater than yourself." Ishu leaned close, eyes gleaming. "But I will not help you." Then he vanished, leaving behind only laughter and the scent of burning palm oil. On the 7th day, the sun rose red, like a wound in the sky. In the palace of Ayegbade, Oba Akintade sat alone in his private chamber. He had not eaten, he had not spoken. All night, the words of the 3 visitors replayed in his mind like drums before a storm. Tajuddin, the scholar who spoke of betrayal and justice. The silent one, who carried the stone of broken oaths and bled from his palm. Moronkeji, the memory keeper, who warned that the lie came from within. And above them all, Ishu, who promised that his bloodline would vanish if he chose wrongly. The king closed his eyes and whispered, "Who betrayed me?" He could not ask his wife. She had grown cold to him in recent years. He could not ask the chiefs. They were all too loyal, too proud, or too afraid. But he remembered one man who had served long before all others. A man no one noticed anymore. His name was Odekunle, the old palace record keeper. Bent by time, with eyes pale from years spent reading scrolls by firelight, Odekunle lived in a quiet chamber behind the royal library. Few ever spoke to him, but he remembered everything. The king summoned him. When Odekunle entered, he bowed so low his chin nearly touched the floor. "Kabiesi," he rasped. "I need the truth," the king said. "Tell me what happened 23 years ago when my brother Adetunji was exiled." Odekunle's breath caught. His lips trembled. He looked up, eyes swimming in fear. "My king, it is not a story that was meant to be told. I command it." Silence fell. And then Odekunle spoke. "My king, the bracelet of Queen Adeshewa was not stolen. It was planted. A chief, Chief Ajibola, had long feared your brother would become king one day. The people loved Adetunji more than you. They loved his laughter, his kindness, his way with the warriors. So Chief Ajibola whispered poison into the queen's ear. She believed the worst of your brother, and with her anger, she came to you. That night, the bracelet was slipped into Adetunji's chamber by the chief's servant. The next morning, judgment came. The king stared at him, stunned. "You knew? All this time?" "I was there when Ajibola gave the order. I was young. I kept the record. I never spoke. I feared for my life." The king's hands clenched the arms of his throne. "And my brother? Where is he?" "No one knows, Kabiesi. He walked into the forest of Oroigbo after the exile. Some say he became a spirit. Others say Ishu watches over him." At that moment, the torches in the room flickered. A wind blew, though no windows were open. The king rose. "Prepare the court," he said. "Bring me Chief Ajibola." When Ajibola was brought before him, his face was stone. He denied nothing. "Yes, Kabiesi," he said coldly. "I lied. I feared your brother. I fear he would bring softness to the throne. And I knew you would believe it. You always sought the stronger voice." The court gasped. "You betrayed blood," the king thundered. "I protected the kingdom," Ajibola said, smiling. "And you? You were easy to guide." Just then, thunder cracked. The skies darkened, and from behind the pillar of Obaolagunju, the great ancestor, Ishu stepped into the court. No one saw him at first, only the king. Ishu smiled, his hat tall, his staff gleaming. "So you have found the truth," the king whispered. "You said I must choose. I chose this, to find my brother, to restore what was taken." Ishu's eyes flashed. "A noble choice, but not without price." "Then take what you must. Spare my bloodline." Ishu laughed. "It is not me who takes, Kabiesi. It is the truth that takes. And the truth is a hungry thing." Then, in a flash of red and black smoke, he vanished again. But the moment he disappeared, a scream echoed in the courtyard. The Queen Adeshewa had collapsed. Her body twisted, her mouth foaming. The king ran to her side. "What is this? What curse is this?" The palace priest arrived moments later, eyes wide with horror. "Kabiesi, she has swallowed dried snake liver and bitter leaf, the poison of shame. She must have remembered everything. She knew what she had done." The king turned to the heavens and roared, "Ishu!" But the wind only laughed. And from the forest far beyond the palace, a whisper drifted toward Ayubadi. If you seek your brother, come to the crossroads. Bring no crown, bring no guards, only truth. The king stood, alone in the shadow of his throne. To save his future, he would have to return to his past. And Ishu was waiting.